G'day folks, Ben from Snowies today showing you the Flextail Max Pump 2 Pro.
Hit it.
This handy and lightweight little pump not only pumps up and deflates your air mattresses, it doubles up as a camping lantern and an emergency power supply. Before we dive in, we've got loads more content like this on our channel, so make sure you like and subscribe below. Now let's jump into the product. So the Max Pump 2 Pro comes in a box like this, and inside of the box you get all of these inclusions here. So starting off with the basics, a little instruction manual, really easy to understand, all the instructions in there. USB charging cable can also be used for charging your phone from the device. Little storage bag. You get the pump itself that we'll go into shortly, but I just want to run through the fittings first. So you get various fittings here. I'm going to run through a couple of sort of ones that you probably won't commonly use for camping, but this is for used for, say, inflatable pool toys and pool rings. Vacuum storage bags, so you can actually screw that onto a vacuum storage bag that is compatible with that. And then these are kind of universal. You can use them for various attachments. So this one here has got a silicone insert here that can come out, and the bottom section can be used for what they claim inflatable boats. This section here, a little bit sort of universal, that will fit inside a valve like this on this cedar summit mat here. So I can use that to inflate that if I wanted from there, but probably more so for deflate, because this valve is quite common across a lot of mats. But it also fits over the top of the valve here on this thermarest mat underneath here. And then below I've got a really common airbed valve. It's actually this one here that will fit inside that. If you've got any larger valves, that will fit as well. Now there are a few valves that these fittings aren't quite compatible with, and that's these sort of reversible valves here. They're a little bit big for this valve here. Not to say you couldn't use it, you probably just need to come up with some adapter to go from there to there. And the same with the deflate valve on the X-bed mat here. It's just a little bit big to fit in there. The X-bed mat in particular has got a larger valve, so it's easier to deflate. But then the cedar summit mat on the top here has got this regular sort of valve that we saw on the first mat that I showed you, and this will fit either inside here for deflate if you like, or you can actually fit one of these valves. That one there fits neatly in the top section of that valve there. So if I push that in, that will then inflate that one. But I'm actually going to show you the deflate mode on this valve here. But before we get into that, I want to show you the pump itself. Now this is the little unit here, really compact and feels really sturdy. 160 grams, about 7.7 centimeters in height, about 5.1 centimeters in diameter, plus a little bit extra for the deflate or inflate, port on the side here. It's got a tough ABS plastic housing, and it's a polycarbonate cover over the bottom here, which is a light. We'll show you a bit more on that shortly. On the top, you've got a little carry handle or a hanging loop. That's handy because this light does shine out the bottom here. In the bottom, you've got a little charging port and also a USB-A where you can charge from. And when you charge it, you plug a USB port in here. There's a little light indicator on the side, red and green, to show the charge status of the unit. Now it's a 3,600 milliamp hour battery inside, and runtime, it's about 30 minutes of inflation, deflation on high, 60 minutes on low, because it's got two settings, 150 litres per minute airflow or 300 litres per minute airflow, which also gives a different inflation pressure, so 2.5 kPa or 4.5 kPa, so you can switch between those modes, which I'll show you shortly. And the light on the bottom is switched on by the bottom section of the button on the side here. Double click turns it on, 500 lumens, about 12 hours of runtime. If you hold down on the button on the side here, it will dim right down to about 50 lumens, and you can get up to 72 hours of runtime on the lowest setting there. So one more press turns it off, double click again turns it back onto the high setting. It doesn't remember the last setting you were on. So use that in conjunction with a little hanging hook here, and you've got yourself a lantern just to find your way around the tent. Now the best bit about the pump itself is obviously the pump functionality. Now that's operated by the button on the side here. Now the air gets sucked in through the top here. You can see a little fan inside there, and it's then blown out the side here. So this is our deflation port, this is our inflation port. So to turn this on, it's a double press. A single press won't turn it on, so we can't accidentally turn that on when it's in our pack. It's got to be a double press within a few seconds of each other. And then a long press on this changes the mode. So that's 150 litres per minute. The next press turns it off again. So first double press is 300 litres a minute. Hold it down, 150 litres per minute, and the next press turns it off again. Also important to note that it is IP55 water rated, so if this gets wet in the rain, it's still going to work. It is built for the outdoors. Now how well does this guy work? Now I've deflated the big mattress on the bottom here, because that's what I'm going to demo this one on. They have got smaller pumps that probably suit the lighter mats like this, but these valves do actually fit, or these fittings do fit in the valves on these guys here. I've just got them there as an example because I really want to demo on this guy here. This is a double XL 15 centimeter thick, pretty standard sort of airbed, I suppose. Now I'm going to grab the fitting that I need for this valve here. So that one's a little bit big. This one fits neatly right inside there, and that's going to stay in place. So I put this on the pump here. So this, I'm going to need it on the deflate side. So this just pushes over the top of the deflate side there. I'm going to insert this into the valve. Now I'm going to time this. So I'm going to grab a stopwatch on my phone here and press start at the same time that I start this guy. So double press on this and it will get going, and I'll press start here at the same time. We'll see how quickly it inflates this mat here. Now that mode change not only changes the rate of flow of the air, it also changes the pressure at which it can inflate an object too. So low setting will go to about 2.5 kPa, high setting will go up to about 4.5 kPa if that's something that you need to consider. So that was just under 2 minutes for an XL single airbed there. That's pretty firm at the moment. I could put a little bit of extra air in it, a little bit of escape design did the valve there. But that's pretty quick for such a small pump. Now the other thing I want to show you is the deflate function of this guy here. So this is a 10 centimeter self-inflating mat here. It's got foam inside. To roll these up normally you'd have to squish all the air out and sit on it to squash it down nice and tight. But you can use this pump to do that for you. Now I'd have to find the right fitting for here. This one's a bit small, and there's two fittings I can use. The first one is this one, which will fit inside here, but what I found is that impedes the use of this little one-way valve. If you've got a mat with this one-way valve in, that slows the airflow. But this sort of silicone fitting here is really handy. That will actually clip right over the top of that valve there and doesn't impede any airflow. So that's the one I'm going to use. And I'm attaching it on the top here. This is the deflate side of the pump. So we slide that on there. I'll just slide that back a little bit, and I'm going to get my stopwatch so we can time this again, how quickly this is going to deflate this mat here. So we'll get it going, start the stopwatch. So that's deflated the mat over 50% of the way by itself. There's a fair bit of foam in these mats here. It's still sucking the air out slowly when it's on, but that took about a minute to get to this point here. What I'd recommend you do though is use the pump and your body weight together. So if I put this flat on the ground now, turn the pump on and roll this at the same time, the pump's doing half the work for us. So I'll turn this back on and roll it up the rest of the way. Well, that was probably another 30 seconds to get the mat to this point here. Quite often to fold these 10 centimeter thick mats up to this sort of size, you've got to roll it up once, roll it a second time to try and squeeze all the air out to get it down small. But I only had to roll this once with the help of the Flextail pump here, total of about 1.5 minutes to get the mat packed up. And I hardly put any muscle into getting it this small. That is the Flextail Max Pump 2 Pro. Handy little device that not only inflates but also deflates your camp mattresses and inflatable products. It's got an inbuilt light to give you a bit of extra light around the campsite, and a battery that will give you a bit of extra power in your phone should you need it in an emergency. The Flextail Max Pump 2 Pro. Check them out online at snowies.com.au.